Hello, my name is Kai and I am a bit of a rambler. I like to travel, learn, and tell stories. I want to talk today about airports. Please try to contain your excitement. I like airports. That is my hot take. I know that many people like airports. I find them comforting to the point that I'll sleep in them. I don't like buying a $17 burrito, but I like the liminal space, which is funny because, usually it's crowded, but I am often in airports overnight. And even when it's crowded in Denver airport or something, there's always some nook or cranny or table that is open and I can sit down, plug in, and work on something that I usually don't work on because work like this is audio-based. That when I sit down to work on something like drawing or writing or something like that, in the airport I can't do anything with audio. So I just have to get all this other stuff done or just go through all the emails or read articles that have just been piling up. I save articles to read later in my inbox and I can just read all these things that I'm curious about, like some random blue dart rainforest frog, that catches birds or something. I was talking about airports. I like airports because they're very safe. And I know I'm surrounded by the atmosphere of getting onto one of the safest modes of transportation. I don't really like riding in cars so much. I do like buses a little more. But with airports, it's like, hey, the statistics are in. It's still the safest mode of transportation, and I know that I'm about to land somewhere and learn something new and be overwhelmed by a new culture, new environment, and I love that because I've been to enough new cultures and environments that I know they're not going to be dangerous, and the overwhelming part is just look at how many new things you have to learn. But I have plenty of time to do that because I perpetually travel, like that's my whole thing. So that atmosphere is with me as soon as I step into the airport. It's almost there. Once I pass security, that's when the wall of worry drops away. I'm like, okay, I made it. They're not going to drag me back out like the wrong way through security. Now I'm on my way to a new adventure. So I like the feeling of airports. I do like they are actually safe. I had to go through such a pain in the butt of security. But I'll go early. I'll go like 4 hours early, and then I'll just have 4 hours of like, this is a safe room. I'm about to get on safe transportation, and then I'm going to learn a bunch of new things when I land. I like that airports are really clean. Even the dirtiest airport is still cleaner than like a lot of clean buildings. I like that there's an information kiosk like a second away, or whatever, 3 gates you walk away. Like in any employee, any airline employee worker is happy to talk to you and give you information if you need it. Like everyone's there. That's like their second home. I know a lot of airport employees and they all talk about it like, yeah, that's just, a fixture in your life, like your own work is. But theirs is like way bigger and there's airplanes there. So I like to hang out in airports in general. Like they're kind of a recreational spot for me, and they slow me down a lot because there's so much waiting. So I have to chill out, and I can't be like, oh, what do I got to work on now? Even though I do usually do that. There's a lot of waiting built in, which I like because it gives me a chance to slow down and chill out. I guess another aspect of that is as long as you have your documents, you're good, which doesn't sound super relaxing, I guess, on its face, but it's just like going through security. I have my passport, and depending on the country, I have a visa or I don't, but that's all I need. I need my wallet on me, and if I have my passport, my special cool-looking book that has like cool pages that have my, travel adventure history inside them, it's like a magical little booklet that lets me go on a new adventure. And it's one document. It's about as much trouble as making sure you have your license before you drive a car, except airplanes are safer than cars. And you don't have to drive the airplane. So I like that I pat my wallet or I pat my pocket and a passport, wallet. Okay, I'm set now. I'm prepared for the next thing. And that's all I need. I need a couple of documents. And now I'm in this new paradigm of worldview where I know I'm about to learn a whole bunch of stuff in a new country. And airports do have everything you need. I don't buy things in airports because, they're exorbitantly expensive, and as soon as you get into town, you can buy cheap stuff. But if you are worried, about traveling for the first time or traveling to a country, you're like, oh, does Belize have phone chargers that I can just buy? Yeah, they do. Of course, every country does. But you might not know that if you haven't traveled to a lot of poorer countries or lower income countries. Like, I know I was worried about that when I moved to China. I was like, oh, geez, are they going to have all... And then I got to China and they had every electronic in the world, of course. And like in Laos, oh, did they use dehumidifiers? Yeah, of course they use dehumidifiers in Laos. Like, it's everything is everywhere. But if you're worried that there's not going to be whatever you're looking for, it's going to be at the airport and you can pay extra for it. And then when you get into the country, you'll be like, oh, I didn't need to pay an extra $100 for it. But it's nice that there are phone chargers and cables and there's food and there's clothing and there are gifts. It's nice that everything is right there, right around you if you really need it or if you just want it as sort of a security item to hold on so that you can feel more comfortable about your new travel or destination. Flights still offer snacks and meals. I think it's usually over 6 hours. You get a meal. Some of them are 4 hours. It's a crapshoot. You can check which ones offer meals. That's not a big problem for me. I do the 1 meal a day thing. But even if they don't have meals, you get a cookie, you get some water's always free, and there are toilets there. It's just a environment where all the minimums are taken care of, which I like to think about or rather I like to not think about all the minimums being taken care of. When I'm taking a bus across a new country, I'm unsure if they're going to stop halfway for a bathroom break, and they don't. But all airports have bathrooms and all airplanes have bathrooms that you can use. And so there's just all those basic minimums, and then there's a few complimentary privileges like free drinks or free food and snacks and the comfy, and there's free entertainment on a bunch of airlines now. And yeah, all the basics are taken care of, and then you get a few perks. And for the time that you are inside an airport or on the airplane, all of the basics are there, which is nice. Sleeping on an airplane or in an airport are two things I like. Sleeping in the airport itself, after like 9 p.m., there's a few flights left or none in some, but a lot of airports have at least one wing that are 24 hours. And I do not want to drive an hour. I don't even want to drive 30 minutes to a hotel and then come back the next day to catch a flight. That is so much trouble for me. I don't want to leave through security, unpack my stuff in the hotel room, not all the way, but just take out my stuff, make sure I have all my stuff 5 hours later when I wake up because I have to get back at 5 a.m. because my flight's at 8 a.m. No, like find a mode of transportation, get back to the airport, go through security again, make sure I have everything. No, I'm already through security. I know I have everything. I'm going to lean my rucksack against a wall. It's filled mostly with clothes and soft things, so it's comfortable to lean against. I'm going to throw on my eye mask and fall asleep with some earplugs in. Easy to do. You're not going to get the best sleep in the world, but I would much rather sleep comfortably for 6 hours than go to maybe a terrible hotel room, which I have had before in every chain. Sometimes that city just has crappy hotels. Like there's a huge standing puddle of water or something. So you can find your own quiet spot overnight in the airport and get at least like a decent, like a okay sleep. And then you're going to get on and go onto the airplane. So if you are tired, sleep on the airplane, which I maintain is a skill. Because when I first started flying, I didn't like to sleep on airplanes. And I was basically just awake, bloodshot eyes the whole time, no matter how long the flight was. Playing on my phone, watching a movie, reading a book, whatever I was doing, I was awake the whole time. And I flew to China and back a lot, which are like long flights, 9, 12-hour flights. I don't know, long flights. And then I was like, wait, this is crazy. Like, I've practiced lucid dreaming. I have done a lot of self-discipline things. I should be able to make myself go to sleep if I want to. And so on the next flight, I just earplugs, eye mask, and then said, sleep, sleep, sleep to myself. And then I fell asleep. And I slept on a 4-hour flight, beginning to end. I woke up when the plane landed, and I was shocked that it had worked. And that broke it. Now I can sleep on an airplane if I want to. And the neck pillow makes a huge difference. Like, you can always get a good, comfortable lay with the head, and it makes it so much easier to fall asleep. Which I didn't know until like last year. I just got a good neck pillow from Daiso for like $2 or $3. I don't know. But Daiso neck pillows are my favorite because I don't like the velvet ones, and I don't really like the plastic ones. And yeah, they have a nice, that feels like cotton neck pillow, and it's fantastic. And speaking of sleeping comfortably in the airport, also sleeping comfortably outside an airport is often very doable. In a lot of countries, I camp outside the airport in a copse of trees somewhere. I'm usually hammock camping, so it'd probably be more difficult, with the tent. But Hong Kong, I did this almost every time. Korean airports, I did this. A lot of airports, I would go outside at night once the sun had gone down, so I didn't, draw suspicion from the security guards. And I would walk out, and there's like small, like mini forests that they keep on the airport land. And I just walk into one of those, set up my hammock and bug net, and then chill out, because the hammock is the most comfortable thing for me to sleep in. Eye mask, earplugs, asleep. And I would just fall asleep overnight, get up the next day, go catch my flight the next day. Even sometimes when I didn't have a flight the next day, but if I arrived in Hong Kong late, I would definitely just sleep in my hammock in one of those mini forests around the airport rather than catch a late bus or hail a taxi to the closest hotel. I'd much rather do that well rested in the morning. Sometimes when the school I was teaching at that I became a partner of was pissing me off because I was having a disagreement with the other partners about how best to run the school. I would have to go out for visa runs so I could renew my visa in China. And instead of jumping over the border and then coming back the same day or in one day, I'd book 3 or 4 days, and I'd just spend that whole time camping outside of an airport in Korea or Hong Kong because I was just chilling out. So I'd read a book, go into the city during the day, visit a museum, get some food, but then I'd go back to the airport courtyard and just sleep in a small little group of trees somewhere. Central location, cheap housing, free housing. Bathrooms in the airport, showers in the airport. Just a nice little vacation from my schools occasionally. If you're a backpacker or you just like camping, sleeping outside the airport is very convenient. Shops are all inside, the restrooms inside, fresh water is inside, and then you can just set up a hammock or a tent and sleep there for the night. You'll be rested in the morning and you can get out of there on a bus into the city or a taxi wherever you were going to go. So finding a place to sleep, there's a website called sleepinginairports.com, and it has every airport in the world, and some of them have less information than others. But what I find helpful is like, is it 24 hours? And they tell you, yeah, it's 24 hours, which means you can sleep there. Any airport that is 24 hours, you can sleep overnight, which is nice. If you're worried about making your next flight, you can make sure you have a super long layover and set a timer on your phone or an alarm and take a nap. I do that all the time now because sometimes the flights are cheaper if you buy 2 single tickets rather than one ticket incorporating 2 flights. I'm not sure exactly why that is, but a lot of the times if I buy a flight that has 2 legs, like let's say LA to Hawaii and then Hong Kong, if I buy that as one ticket, it could be $600. Or, if you buy it at the right time, like I mentioned in my flight tickets, it's going to be cheaper. But it could be, let's say, $600. But if you buy them separately, $450. Like, it's very easy to save if you buy individual flights and change. Actually, Guatemala is a better one because I just bought this flight. I was trying to get from Hawaii to Guatemala. And if I bought a ticket from Hawaii to Guatemala, it went through California, LA, and it was 400 something, which was like which was crazy. But if I bought them separate, then it was $100 to LA from Hawaii, or $150, I can't remember. And then it was $120 to Guatemala. So it was $270 total. So I saved $200 simply by buying the 2 legs independently rather than buying them as a bundle. I find that happening a lot more these days in 2025 and 2024. I'm not sure why that is becoming more popular. Maybe just because so many people are using the websites that bundle everything together for you that they're charging premiums. But you can easily save money by buying individual legs. I like to make everything as simple as possible. So when I go through security, I'm usually wearing slip-on shoes or just slippers. I don't want to deal with laces or anything like that. And if I'm going to or from tropical places, I'm wearing slippers because there's no bomb check for those. You don't put them on the conveyor belt to go through security, and it's just convenient. Oh, most people call them flip-flops, right? I wear flip-flops if I'm going somewhere tropical. Weight limits. Weight limits are bull. And it's so frustrating that I weigh 80 pounds less than most people. I'm thin and I'm American, so I'm much, just being thin, I'm much less weighty than many of my fellow passengers. But we have the exact same suitcase limit. Why don't I get extra weight? Because that would, insult people, so they don't do it. I understand why they don't, but that has always frustrated me. On the flip side, it means that you can basically wear as much weight as you want. So I have 2 large inside pockets, and then I have sewn a pocket that's basically the size of my back on the back of my jacket. I used an old button-down shirt. I cut out the rectangle of the back of the shirt, and I double-stitched it onto the back of my black jacket with black thread so you can't see anything. But it's large enough to fit my laptop, a charging cable, which is half the weight of my rucksack because I have a giant computer, but I can fit tons of stuff inside my jacket. I can fit almost everything in my rucksack inside my jacket if I stuff it in there. So if you go overweight, you get a jacket with inside pockets, put your heavy stuff in your pockets, and you'll be able to get on that plane. If it's in the clothes you are wearing, then you can do that and get on the plane. If your suitcase is 1 ounce over, they won't let you on. But your jacket, you can add 100 extra pounds of weight if you sewed your pockets on really well. And it's totally fine because it's bodily weight, which they do not measure anywhere that I've heard of right now. And I am flying constantly in different countries and situations. Another reason I like airports is because I have to take stock of what I have, get rid of what I don't need. I travel with 1 rucksack, and that's 5 clothes, 2 pants, all my toiletries, all my electronics, all my travel stuff, all my hygiene stuff, and then my laptop. And I have a little carrying case for this microphone, actually. But anything else, there's not really anything else that I need. So anything I've accrued, I have to get rid of that before I go to the airport, because the less you take, the less trouble everything is. Like, it's, physically lighter to carry. It's easier to organize. It's easier to find the other stuff if you get rid of some of your stuff that you don't need. So whenever I have to go to the airport, I know that I'm streamlining my possessions again, which always feels good, having less stuff for me. Now, all of that being said about what I like to do, I will say that it's worth to pay more or do something different if that's what you like. Especially for convenience. I like airports, and I like liminal spaces, and I like being in transit. But if you don't, and you can cut 5 hours off of your flight time by paying $50, it's worth it, because what is your time worth to you? Is it $10 an hour? If it's more than $10 an hour, then yeah, spend the $50 and save 5 hours off your flight and just fly direct or something. If you are traveling to most countries, if you're American, then you're going to be saving a lot of money just by traveling. So you might as well spend that on making your life easier or more convenient or just more enjoyable for you. It's worth it. Good conversations are something else I like about airports. I think this is definitely a solo traveler thing, more than if you're with anyone, and especially on the airplane rather than in the airport. But I've had many good conversations with people that I never start. But when I am sucked into a conversation, they usually turn out very interesting. I met an Indian girl on my flight out of India, and that was a long flight. That was like a 6-hour flight. But we talked, for a few hours, and she shared a lot of things that I didn't know because she was from a province that I hadn't visited while I was in India. So she explained to me a bunch of stuff about our hometowns, and we talked about how India is way better than the States in a lot of respects, and how cool it is that the cows can just feed, free roam and free graze, and people feed them and they treat them so well as compared to the horrific agricultural factory farming practices in the US. So we shared some interest. We told each other about where we traveled and some of our recent adventures, or, most memorable ones. And it was just a good conversation, which a lot of my activities are solo, like talking into a microphone. So it's good to make those connections sometimes. Anyway, I don't want to go on too long about airports, but airports get a bad rap. They're not as terrible as culture would lead you to believe. They can be comfortable in a lot of ways, especially if you understand how they work. Airport camping, when I was traveling very frequently while I was teaching English in China, and I frequently took planes to Korea and back, and to Hong Kong and back to re-up my visa. Once I figured out that I could hammock camp in all those mini forests I mentioned, I was ecstatic. It was like a vacation. I was like, okay, I don't have to work for the next 2 or 3 days. I'll just go live at the airport, bring some good food with me, all my snacks that I like, lay in my hammock for a couple days watching TV or reading books, recharge inside or use the restroom when I had to inside the airports. Just a little mini vacation. So to close this out, let's look for a cool airline deal right now. Well, geez Louise. If you fly from Lisbon, Portugal, if you're visiting Europe, you can fly to Morocco for $16, Spain for $16, France for $17, Malta for $30, Switzerland $33, UK $38, Rome $40, Luxembourg $50, Poland $50. Yeah, the prices are pretty good from Portugal. So go on and explore some of those airports and then get on to some of those countries. But bring an eye mask and earplugs with you. Makes a world of difference in comfort. My email is still bitofarambler@gmail.com. Get at me. Good talking to you, and I will catch you on the flip side.